Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Kingdom Hairstylist podcast. This is your host, Billie Jean, and I want to first say that I miss you guys. I was not able to put out an episode last week because I'm under the weather. I'm not sure if you all can hear it in my voice, and I also was celebrating my husband's birthday and our anniversary, so I just wasn't able to get on and record last week. But nonetheless, I'm back and I'm here. And although I'm not 100% healthy, I have enough voice now where I can record, because last week I didn't even have a voice. It was just a very, very, very rough week last week, only because I guess, when the weather changes, your allergies, or, if you suffer from those things, you know what I'm talking about. So it just decided to act up, and I've been taking medicine, so I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling a whole lot better than I sound. But I just still wanted to come on here, like I said, and do what I'm supposed to be doing. God has called me to do this, and so I want to be obedient to whatever He tells me to do. So I was not going to go a whole nother week without doing an episode. So welcome back, and thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe the podcast so that other people can know what you're listening to, and especially if you know that my short messages will help somebody. So spread the word, and I'm appreciative for those that have already been sharing it and reposting things that I say, and just totally supportive. I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. So let's get right into today's topic. Today I wanted to talk about how my yes is still a yes. That's the title of this episode, and I titled it that because I really had to get out of my feelings. I had been in my feelings for the last couple of weeks, and I was just kind of upset with God, and I prayed, and I told Him exactly how I felt. I ain't hold anything back, because who am I kidding? He already knows anyway, right? So I had to go and have a talk with Him and just let Him know how I'm feeling. And I think a lot of my feelings were coming from just a lot of different emotions that I was having. And mainly I would say that I just felt like I don't really feel happy in my career. I love doing hair, but sometimes I don't want to do hair anymore. I mean, sometimes I don't know what I want to do. Sometimes I'm just not happy. I just feel like there's a greater calling on my life, but I can't quite figure out what that calling is. But I do know that God gave me many different gifts, just like you all have many different gifts. So I just want Him to use me in the best way that He knows how. So if it's doing hair, then I will continue on. If it's not, I still want to be able to hear from Him so that He can guide me into where He wants me to be. But when I had all of those feelings, I had to think about what I had been doing over the last couple of weeks, and a lot of it was just seeking so many other people for advice and listening to all these different sermons and just clouding my head with so much noise. And that is really dangerous, because I'm not saying it's dangerous to listen to sermons. It's definitely not. And it's definitely not anything wrong with seeking advice. But when that's all you do instead of going to God first, that's when it becomes dangerous. So when I was feeling the way I felt and having that conversation with God and letting Him know exactly how upset I was, basically He told me that I need to seek Him first. And that's the problem, is I keep doing what I want to do, or keep wanting what I want, and my timing is not God's timing. So maybe He is going to move me into a greater calling. Maybe this is exactly where He wants me to be right now. So I just decided, I had to make a decision that my yes would still be a yes, no matter what it looks like, and no matter how hard it gets, how long it takes. it's going to always be a yes, because I felt so bad because I was feeling so ungrateful and just feeling so confused and just frustrated with God. And I was just like, he doesn't deserve any of this, because this is all you're doing. You are the one that's making it so difficult. You are the one that's being so upset about something that you don't even know what he's doing right now. All you're supposed to do is be obedient to whatever he tells you to do. And if it's to do hair, then you need to be obedient to that. If it's to do this podcast, to get on here to do the episode, then you better do it. Whatever he tells you to do, just do it. So a lot of times when we go through things, we just got to make a decision. Like, we can cry it out, we can be upset, we can talk it out, but we still got to make a decision at the end of the day. Are you going to follow God or are you not? Are you going to continue to do things your way, or are you going to do things God's way? What are you going to do? So I had to make a decision. I decided, again, that my yes is going to be a yes. So whatever I feel, I need to stand on exactly what I know. And I know that I'm going to follow God no matter what it takes. This journey, because it is definitely a journey, it's definitely not easy. I was thinking about last year where I was at around this time, and I would say that it was even more rough, because it was like the beginning of my relationship, or building a relationship with God, and I really didn't know how to hear from him. I didn't know a lot of different things. I didn't know what he wanted from me. I just felt like I was going through this very, very, very rough season. And that was in the beginning of when I said yes, that I would follow him. But now it's like a whole year later, and I'm handling things a whole lot different, because even though I was upset, I used to go to. So I felt like I have matured a lot. I see growth in where I am today than I was a year ago. So I got to keep on seeking God above all else, as his word says. And then I'll be able to get through all that I'm going through. And again, I feel like I'm making it harder than what it actually has to be, because God is trying to give me all the things that he wants to give me. But if I'm constantly crowded with noise in my head of my thoughts and listening to all these different things, and I'm not really seeking him and going to him like I used to do in my quiet time, and just really, 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 really seeking him with my whole entire heart, I'm going to make it hard for myself. So it's better that I follow God. It's better that I wait on God, and that I understand that his timing is not my time, and things are not going to happen just because I want it to happen. That's not how it works. So I'm definitely in a better space today, but I thought I'd share that with you all, because I know that sometimes this walk is difficult. I know that sometimes it's stressful when you're waiting for God to move in certain areas in your life, and then you start questioning everything like I did, and you start wondering whether you're on the right path, or whether you should be doing something different, or just having all these different emotions. And so I tried to find a scripture that would go with what I was talking about today. And so I came up with 1 Samuel chapter 16, and the verses are 19 through 21, and it reads, "So Saul sent messengers to Jesse to say, 'Send me your son David, the shepherd.' Jesse responded by sending David to Saul, along with a young goat, a donkey loaded with bread, and a wineskin full of wine. So David went to Saul and began serving him. Saul loved David very much, and David became his armor bearer." So if you're not really familiar with this story, it's very significant to what I was talking about, but it might not make sense just by me reading the scriptures, although you do need to go back and read it for yourself. And if you never read 1 Samuel, you probably want to read the whole thing. It was just really, really, really good. But what this verse is referring to is Saul was the king, but But then David was anointed to be the king because Saul wasn't doing everything right. So God anointed David to be the king secretly. So Saul didn't know that, but Saul heard that David basically played this beautiful music, and Saul was under a lot of stress. So he wanted David to come and play like all his music and, to make him calm. And just like how we listen to music sometimes, to make us calm or to give us motivation or whatever the case may be. That's what Saul was basically doing. He wanted David to come and just soothe him with some beautiful music, because David played the harp and just wrote a lot of songs that are in the Bible, and especially in the book of Psalms. So I related that to me because David had to wait a long time before he could be king. He had to go and, help the king that was already in place. And I can imagine how that might have felt to David, like, well, actually, I'm going to be the king, but why I got to go help him? But also he could have looked at it like, well, at least I get to get all the inside scoop on what it's like to be the king. So, but David had to have a lot of patience. And I related to this story because I need to have patience. A lot of times, in order for God to give us all that he wants to give us, we're going to go through some tests. And if I've always been praying for patience, I had to realize God was going to test my patience. So we can learn a lot from David. We could be like David. I refer to David a lot because I just felt like he was a really, really good man. He wasn't perfect. And that's another reason that I can relate to him, because I'm not perfect. But he did love God with all his heart. And I feel the same way. I love God with all of my heart. So whatever I have to go through, my yes will still be a yes. Again, I will put the the scripture in the show notes so that you can go back and read that when you get some time. But just know that if you said yes to God, if you told him that, I'm going to follow you, I'm going to do whatever it is you want me to do so that you can get the glory, so that I can be a vessel for your people. If you told him yes, and you told him that he can use you in any way that he wanted to use you, just know that there will be tests and that you will have to be patient through the process, because a lot of it won't make sense. A lot of things that I'm going through right now don't make a lot of sense to me, but I know that God always has a reason for everything that we go through. And I know that he knows exactly why I'm going through whatever I'm going through. A lot of it is just to build my character, because I got to be right so that he can use me. That's what he did with everybody that he used. Nobody in the Bible was perfect. And I'm sure all of them had a past, and all of them had things that they needed to work on. But God took them through some tests, and he worked on them and built their character up before he used them. And a lot of them were obedient. And that's what I want to be. So I'm just going to be obedient. I'm going to wait on God. I'm going to keep finding scriptures and reading scriptures that will help me while I wait for God. And I'm going to just trust God with my whole heart. So I hope and pray that this helped you. I hope it blessed you. And again, I apologize for the way that I sound, but I could not go another whole week without getting on here and doing an episode. So I pray that you all have a blessed week. And don't forget to share, subscribe, and like the podcast. And you can also rate it if you want to. All of those things are really helpful, so that when people find the show, they know exactly what I'm talking about. And, they'll want to press play. So thank you so much. I love you all. Have a blessed week.